happens when two real estate investors travel across the nation to uncover the nitty-gritty of rehabbing real estate. This is Rehab Nation Real Estate Uncovered.
Oh, you want to purchase property? Let me show you properly how to turn your pipe dreams to real life monopoly. First things first, what's your budget like? If you don't keep your budget tight, good luck trying to go to sleep at night. You going hard money? Nah, this ain't hard money. But interest only 12 months, could leave you scarred money. It's only one way, get in and get out. Tree houses like fish, the way I'm gutting them out. Break it down to the studs, gotta clean out all the bugs. This is where you separate the real from the duds. Now what you waiting on? Go get your framing on. Time is ticking, 30 days, your first payment gone. I know it's getting rough, but now it's time to rough. Put some pressure on your subs, don't let them call you bluff. No sticker, no payment. I don't care who they blaming. It could be your uncle, who related.
Another episode, man.
Let's go.
Rehab
I
Nation.
think we owe ourselves a round of applause for getting back to it.
Absolutely, and being consistent on the first leg of interviews, and we're gonna finish off the second leg, and we're gonna give y'all this season one, which is not hopefully, because we like to speak things into existence, will be full of great content for sure, man. So
100%. So we don't want to waste a lot of time. We want to jump into this episode is about us, right? We created this platform so we can, go throughout the country just reaching out to investors that are doing what we do in their areas and dominating, so we can learn from them and also network and build a community for you guys. So, this episode is about us. We're in New Jersey, northern New Jersey to be exact. We've done deals throughout pretty much all of North Jersey.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely all of North Jersey, for sure.
We've both been in the game for,
over 15 years.
Over 15 years.
At this point.
Yeah.
Over 15 years at this point. And like Saeed said, this episode, we are doing usually the interviewing, and this is let the people know, like, okay, well, we're not just interviewing the guests. We do this.
Right.
And, to give a little background on what our process is, because we interviewing other people and getting their process, and we getting very, very good content from that you're going to be able to use. But now let's dive into our process, because the way that I run my operation and do my business is slightly different than the way Saeed do it. We have similarities in certain things, but, we don't run it exactly the same. So we're going to dive into that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Saeed, give the people a brief background on who you are and, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so yes, I'm Saeed Hammond, in case you haven't realized by now. Like you said, we've been doing this for now over 15 years. Actively for me since really like 2013, I really started turning it up. I'm also a licensed agent as well. So, I can help you buy or sell your home as well. Also, by the time that you see this, I will be a licensed mortgage broker as well. So
a man of many hats.
Yes. So, please come to me for your mortgages, for your homes, let's work. Right now, currently, I am working on new construction projects as well as renovations. I have done every type of transaction from a wholesale, a short sale, sold at retail, fixer-uppers, ground-up new construction, demolition, you name it, anything in the residential game, any type of transaction, I probably have touched it, raised financing through, a plethora of different ways. And right now, currently, I'm working on a few new construction projects that I'm very excited about. And that's where I'm at present day.
Okay. All right. Well, what would I say? You are a triple threat. I can't even say dude threat. You're a triple threat.
Hey man, and, we gotta stay in it.
A man of many hats. Mortgage, licensed mortgage broker, agent, investor. So that's super dope that, you know, you can have those different hats. And the good thing about what I like about what you're doing with that, they're different hats, but within the same industry. So it don't really take you too far away
Right.
from the bottom line,
Right.
and what you're doing. So yeah, that's dope in that regard.
Yeah. So now on to Mr. Baker.
Oh man, on to me.
Mr. Baker.
Well, like Saeed said, if you guys don't know by now, I'm Chris Baker. Been doing this real estate game for over 15 years. I stuck in one lane in regards to just strictly investors. I don't have no real estate agent license, or obviously not.
He doesn't have time for. He's making too much money investing. He said
man.
He said you can have that.
listen, more hats, you know, that's making profit, the better. But as far as like I said, who I am is, my name is Chris Baker. I've been doing this for over 15 years. I focus more on 1 through 4 families, 3 to 4 families we buy and hold and rent out. 1 and 2 families we rehab and flips. Haven't gotten into the new construction like Saeed has been doing for some years now. You know, work with many different investors in regards to the process of rehab, and did everything from, you know, full gut rehabs to fire rehabs to, you know, adding additions, you know, just the whole full round of this real estate investing game in the residential level. Currently right now, and by the time you guys see this, I'll be in the commercial field. We're looking to now purchase bigger buildings.
Spicy.
And get into that realm. So anything 3 to 4 family currently we hold. Anything 1 to 2 we fix and sell. So now we're trying to look for 25, 50, 100 unit assets that we can buy, stabilize. So, you know, we usually look for distressed assets in the residential market to actually fix up and sell and make a profit,
Right.
or fix up and refi and rent out. So our niche is distressed assets that we can actually stabilize. So we're about to focus on that same niche in commercial, distressed assets that we can go in and stabilize, refi, and hold for long term. So that's a little bit about who I am and, you know, what we do with my company, Baker Empire. And yeah.
All right. So let's jump right in. Let's not waste any time. We'd like to add value to our listeners and viewers. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know, number one, I think the hardest part of, well, not the hard, one of the hardest parts of this business is finding deals, right? And I think that's something that we have both struggled with.
Yep.
We've both excelled in at different points in our career, but there's no secret sauce to it, right? There's several different ways of approaching it. Like they say, you can skin a cat a few different ways, but we have our own ways that we do it. So I want to just kind of talk about that. If you could just tell the people like how you find your deals, how you source them.
Yeah.
And
so for us, it comes a couple of different ways. When you've been in the real estate game for a while and people understand you can close, right? Because the first thing when somebody's dealing with you, and this is for the newbies, the seasoned investors know this, but the newbies, when you try to put a contract on a house, they're going to say, you know, can you close? Where's your proof of funds? Different things of that nature. So, you know, we get a good amount of deals just from being known from being able to close, right? But outside of that, you know, we use List Source, right? And List Source, you guys can check it out, listsource.com, and we able to get a list of actual properties of absentee homeowners, right? And we market to those homeowners, meaning an absentee homeowner is if the property is in the state of New Jersey, right, but the person live in Florida, they might not really be up to continue to maintain that property and manage it, and it's a lot harder to deal with those type of properties when you're out of state. Right, because you can have in-state absentee homeowners, meaning they own the property but they don't live in it, but they're in-state, so it's more likely it's easier for them.
Right.
But we look at out-of-state absentee homeowners, and so we attack that list, and you know we get a good amount of deals through that. You know, also we get deals that come through us through short sales that's available that we get deals that way as well. But those three ways between getting any short sale deals, but the absentee homeowners, and then, you know, deals of people that actually bring it to us for being in the business.
If you can dive into that a little bit deeper. So you got absentee owners and then you have short sales.
Yeah.
Right. So an absentee owner could not, could or could not be in pre-foreclosure to do a short sale.
Oh yeah. No, absentee owner that's a totally different lane than someone that's actually, you know, in pre-foreclosure and it's a short sale in that regards. And usually with those deals, right, you know, a short sale come available, you know, you put your offer on the short sale, you get that, you know, you win that offer, and then once it's actually approved, you close on it. Right. So that's a whole different lane. And that process, you know, with a short sale, you put an offer on the house, that's a short sale, you might not be ready for another 3, 4, 5 months, depending on how long it takes.
Right. Or longer.
Yeah. You know, with the agent that processing it. So that takes time. But the absentee homeowner, they're not most of the times, sometimes it could be, but most of the time they're not in a pre-foreclosure type situation.
Right.
They just own the property that may need some work. They're not in the state and they don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So we attack that list. And those are the main ways. And like I said, we get a good amount of deals just through word of mouth. Hey, am such and such trying to sell this? And hey, are you interested? And those are the ways that we focus on getting deals.
Right. And just to kind of lead off that. So in addition to ListSource, ListSource, very good site. Make sure you write that down. I have used RealtyTrack.
Okay. Yeah.
To get information. RealtyTrack has just an abundance of information just throughout the country, just to if you want to pull property owners, the liens, how much they owe, things like that. When you really don't want to run title, but because you don't want to spend that money, you don't know if you're going to get this deal, but you can still get a lot of background information. Another site which is really popular right now is PropStream.
Yep,
I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yeah, I am. PropStream is really good.
Yeah, PropStream is probably the go-to site right now. And if you really are looking to focus on investments, and really looking to, start dealing directly with homeowners. So, in addition to that, like Chris said, there's a few ways that people get deals in this business. It's word of mouth. Like he said, if you close, you become known as a closer, and then eventually agents or homeowners themselves start coming to you, and the business starts coming to you. We have been aggressive with our approach to, not just trying to get referral business, but also going after it. So, we have skip traced to get, homeowners' phone numbers to reach out to them that way. I have door knocked to get deals. And
so door knocking is a way because we haven't done that. So that's a process that you definitely did with your business.
100%. So I would say right now in 2021, door knocking it's not obsolete, but you should include it in your repertoire. Meaning if you have a list and you were able, because, I can tell you just from experience, when we first started, I was door knocking just the list, period.
Yeah.
Like I would just door knock the whole list, and half the people don't live there.
Yeah.
The tenants most of the time don't want to give you the homeowner's contact info, or the house may be vacant. So you just drive it around. You're spending a lot of time, but you might come across one or two, which 1 and 2 is all it takes.
Yeah.
So
1 or 2 could be that home run.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you had a couple home runs.
100%.
A couple of home runs from door knocking.
And so within that, I had to learn, okay, I think we have to switch up our approach. So now we door knock people who we've actually spoken with.
Yeah.
And
so you don't randomly door knock no more.
Right,
Okay.
right. So if we've spoken to you at some point and maybe you've gone ghost, because a lot of these homeowners just go missing, as you know.
You'll go
right.
door
So
knock
then we will go door knock them and follow up, because typically if they have been engaging with you, they may have been engaging with someone else.
Yep.
So you want to be as aggressive as possible to get in front of them first before, someone else gets in their ear. So like I said, door knocking, cold calling, text messages. I've sent postcards.
So what would you say, out of all those things that you mentioned in regards to your strategy, what would you say is the most
Effective.
effective?
So for us, it was definitely cold calling.
Okay.
And really just beating up the phone and just staying consistent. So what I have realized is that homeowners who are like procrastinators, which a lot of us are, right? Most of us, they don't just make a decision like the first time you speak to them, right?
Yeah.
You do get some of those calls that you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go, but most of the time you got to work them.
Yeah.
And in our office, we had to touch people on an average between 3 to 5 times
Before
we converted them.
Okay. So listen to that, people. He's saying in his process, so don't give up even after you've spoken to them, because, 3 to 5 times on average, he's saying he have to touch the lead contact.
Right. And that's on average. It could be more.
Yeah.
It could,
Just
and
to
some of
convert
more.
them.
Right.
So when you see these things and people are like, I'll get them on the phone, I'll convert them right away. Don't get discouraged if you don't convert right away, because Saeed is very successful at what he do, and 3 to 5 times he got to touch a lead to convert it.
Right.
So
and it's just, what you
persistent.
do. Right. You put it in your pipeline and you just keep following up, and eventually they crack, right? Eventually, when they are ready to make a move, a text message maybe 2 weeks ago for a deal I've been working on. Guy texted me at like 11:45 at night on a Friday saying like, I'm ready to make a deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I was asleep at the time, but that was
11:45 on a Friday. You asleep?
Yeah.
Oh my God, them kids must have wore you out.
Yeah. Hey, you know about it. So, but I was happy. I woke up to it, and I've been reaching out to him for months. So like that whole thing of like staying consistent, not getting discouraged, that applies when you're in this business, because the deals don't, everybody, a lot of people like to talk a good game, but deals aren't just thrown at you every any day, and especially the good deals. The good deals, a lot of times you have to create. Another way that I've gotten a few of my deals is just by driving by and researching the numbers, and then cold calling.
But when you're driving by, are you driving by to the list, or is or you driving? Because I want the people to understand what you mean by that. When you're driving by, are you looking at the property like, that property look vacant, or is it already like that's abandoned and let me try to get the number?
It could be either.
It could be.
Yeah. So if it looks like it is vacant, I'll jot it down. If it definitely is boarded up, I'm jotting it down. Or if it's a vacant piece of land, I'm jotting it down.
You're driving for dollars.
100%.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So driving for dollars is very beneficial. It gives you a potential picture of the landscape of the area, so exactly kind of what's going on, versus just looking at it online. You don't really know the neighborhood, and it gives you that feel. So a lot of people don't like driving with me, especially my wife, because most of the time my head's on a swivel.
You always looking like, oh, what's going on with that property?
I have no problem stopping. The only time I maybe won't stop if if we got to like get to a funeral or something. But outside of that,
you gonna get that info.
I'm getting that info. I don't care what's going on.
Is it any other ways besides the ones that you mentioned that you guys do to find deals, or is that pretty much the way?
And then obviously word of mouth, like you said, that's it.
Yeah. So okay, cool. So those are the process that you guys take when you find a deal. What happens when you identify a deal? What is the due diligence that you guys do for that?
Right. So to start off, one, it starts off with the number, right? It always comes down. It always starts off with the number.
What do you mean the number?
The number is the price that I am willing to pay for it. So we start off with. So I like to start off backwards with all of my deals, right? And some people may or may not do. So I start from what I can sell it for and what's the highest and best use of this piece of land or this piece of property, right? Now, it could be to add an addition, and that can give you more equity. It could be to knock it down, because if you build, that would give you even more. That would give you more equity.
So break down an example of a deal, like when you say you start from the back forward.
Okay, so, I'll just take the property that we're gonna see today, which I'm working on, it's in Jersey City, it's a new construction project. I found it by I actually owned the house next door. I built a new construction there, and that house was boarded up. So was able to skip trace the owners, got in contact with them, work out a number that made sense. But what I did, I based it upon, okay, what am I going to be able to sell this for when it's fully constructed and built? Yeah. What are my construction costs going to be? And that determines where I should be with my offer.
Absolutely.
So that's how I,
What percentage are you looking at? More than the 65% of the ARV?
Right. Yeah. The hard money lenders aren't too far off when you really want to be at like 65%.
And that's key what he said. The hard money lenders are not too far off. So if you got a deal and they're not looking to finance it because it's too high, I mean, most hard money lenders, not all, but most have been, investors and are seasoned. So if you knew, you want to kind of guide off of that. That will help you out. But continue.
Right. So that's typically how I approach it, and then I just work backwards. So after I figure out that, okay, this makes sense, and a lot of times, those things come second nature to me because we're actively in the, working in the area. So I already know where my price point would be going into it. My other due diligence is obviously checking for oil tanks because, and I don't run from oil tanks at all. I've actually never ran from an oil tank, but I have gotten burnt a few times on oil tanks, but it doesn't matter to me, but I still, at this point in my career, I like to know what I'm up against.
So what happens when you identify a property, right? And you add in, okay, this is how much it's going to cost to build. Let's use it for an example, new construction, right? This is how much it's going to cost to construct this new construction. And this is how much I can sell it for. So you're working your way backwards. Oh, wow, there's an oil tank. What amount do you usually add in on average for an oil tank?
So I'm usually at 10 grand for my price point, just because, and I know if you get an oil tank pull, typically shouldn't cost you more than $1,500. But sometimes some people are a little more expensive, but on average, it's like $1,500 to pull a 500 gallon, right? But as we know, if you have any type of leakage,
it could be a pinhole, people.
Pinhole.
It could be a pinhole.
No, I've had pinholes. You've had pinholes.
It doesn't matter.
and now it opens up for the testing to begin. So, a lot of time, I mean, I've had companies where it's only been that $1,500, $2,000 clean. They got paid.
So let me rewind a little bit. So once you identify, because we're talking about the due diligence on the deal,
right?
And you identify that there's an oil tank on the subject property, do you put the under contract subject to the oil tank?
Not at all.
You put it under contract.
No. I assume all that risk. Now,
so what would it take for you, right, to actually walk away from a deal that has an oil tank? And
I don't. I never have.
So if it was 50,000 extra on,
so you don't know, right? So a lot of times, and now this depends on your lender and depends who you're dealing with, right? Sometimes they will require you to get it tested before you close to make sure that it's clean, right? Meaning you got to test the soil around the tank to make sure there's no contamination. So I have had to do that before in the past, and if it's clean, then
you're good.
It's great,
and if it's not, you got to remediate it,
right? And you got to remediate,
and that's where the money can rise.
And depending on how much contamination it is, how deep did it go down, is when you start running into the problem. So for me, I know that worst case scenario, I'm still gonna make money off this deal, regardless if I had to pay 25 grand. I've had to pay 20,000 on tanks on a few different occasions.
Yeah.
So I am prepared for that going into it. Now, that's worst case scenario, right? Obviously, on the average, that's why I end up at the 10 grand because most of the time it's just for the removal.
Yeah.
Right. And if you got to test, then you got to pay a little bit more. Yeah. But outside of that, you're typically fine. But I would say for new investors, you want to make sure you factor those costs in, and that your costs aren't so tight, because if they are really tight, that oil tank situation could eat at your profit, which it has for me. In the past. Fortunately for that property, it was a property that I was wholesaling. So I bought it again. I assumed the risk. So there's a few things that you can do with that. If you are working on a short sale or you're buying it from the bank, you can go to the bank and have them either give you a credit for that oil tank. Most of the time they're not going to remove it. They're not going to touch it, but they will potentially give you a credit because they understand in the state of New Jersey that the owner, the seller is responsible for the removal. Or if it's a regular homeowner, or sometimes the banks, they may not, and they say, listen, if you want it, you want it.
If you don't, you don't.
If you don't, you don't, and they move on. So that's important to know, but at the same time, I don't let it interfere with moving forward on the deal.
Okay, and what other due diligence would you say you look into?
Outside of that, if it's just a regular renovation, I'm looking at what's been important to me is the foundation. And does the foundation leak? And then what is the roof and the plumbing situation? Those are always my first go-tos. When I'm evaluating the deal, I go to the basement and I'm looking for mold. I'm looking for I'm looking in the ground to see if there are water holes, because sometimes the water comes out the ground.
Groundwater.
I'm looking to see, okay, is there some pump here? Do they have a French drain? Most of the time they don't, because it's an older house. Most of the time, sometimes there's a sump pump, but either way, probably inoperable. We're gonna have to replace it. So I go through those things and I look first. So basement, plumbing, roof is always very important for me. Because those things add significant cost to your budget. Outside of that, I'm looking to see, okay, is the electric old? I'm looking at the service. Do we need to replace the service? That's an additional cost on your electric budget. Excuse me. Is it just cosmetic repairs? Do we, what can we salvage and what do we need to get rid of? So that's kind of where I start my process with bringing a property to now conforming, not just conforming way of living, but conforming code too, because obviously when houses were built before,
the code was different,
right? And you won't pass inspection. So that's where I kind of start, and then go from there, and then start writing out my budget, what that's gonna look like.
Whatever the numbers. So we do it similar to how Saeed do it in our due diligence. So when Saeed said he worked his way back and determine the numbers, basically the way we do it, like I said, is similar. So we look at the ARV of the property, right? And the ARV is the after repair value, right? So we look at that. So if the ARV, let's say for the subject property, is $500,000, right? So we take the $500,000 and we say, okay, what's 65% of that, right? So we calculate the 65% of that. Now our purchase price and our rehab cannot be more than 65% of the ARV. We stick to that number, right? Sometimes, if it's 67, maybe, but we stick usually to 65% or below. Right. And the reason why is a couple of reasons why. If we decide to go hard money and we don't buy it cash, that's the maximum that they're willing to do. Right. So you want to make sure you're within that budget. And even if you buy it cash, you still want to give yourself that leeway, because projects doesn't go perfect. Right. And then there may be some unforeseen costs that comes up.
Projects don't go perfect?
Oh, man. Not at all. There's hiccups.
Oh, there are?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to have a few hiccups.
Oh, okay.
Continue. You might have to hold your breath for a little bit and see if the hiccups stop.
Hold your breath.
And drink a gallon of water.
And then flip yourself upside down.
It just might have to, right? So, projects don't go perfect. So we do that, right? So once we look at that number first. So once we know that number, after we say the ARV is this, and the way we do it is a little different, right? So if a property is selling for anywhere from 525 to 560, right? We're not going to use the ARV of 560 because 560 is the highest that a subject property similar sold, right? So we won't use 560. We'll say, you know what? Let's use 525. Let's be a little more conservative, because what if it don't sell at the 560? So you always want to be conservative on your numbers. So the way we look at it, we go over on the rehab budget and less on what we can sell it for. Now, early on, and so I can tell you, I didn't do that at all. I looked at they said 560, I'm getting 600. Like, bro, how? Oh man, they said it's gonna be only 100,000. They said it's gonna be 100,000 fixed. I can get it done for 60. I know I can. You can. You cannot. So I had learned, early on, again, not knowing and being super optimistic. This ain't the business to be super optimistic in. This is the business to be like, you got to be close as possible to reality. So again, if we look at it now in 2021, we go super conservative on what we can sell it for and higher on what the rehab is going to be. So once we identify that number, the further due diligence, we go and we do, again, we are in the same state with New Jersey. We check to see if it's an oil tank. And then if there is an oil tank, the most that we have had to pay in remediation and everything was around $12,000. But still $12,000. Right. So we won't run as well from a deal, but we will calculate that into, because most of the deals that you're going to buy, that's a rehab with an oil tank. You're gonna have to buy as if with the oil tank, right? So we add that cost or the expected cost for that oil tank in there. If it's a hard money where we actually buying it with hard money, similar situation. Sometimes they ask you to remove it ahead of time. Sometimes they don't. Right. It all depends on the lender. And if we are buying the cash, then, it's all on us. Right. So what we do is, again, the rewind, our due diligence, we do an oil tank sweep, right? So what that is, people, an oil tank sweep is you hire a company, they go into a property, they go around the perimeter, almost like they searching for a treasure. The machine that they use is it's pretty cool if you look at it.
Some treasure.
Yeah, some treasure. You don't want them to find the treasure. You don't want a treasure in this situation for sure. But they do an oil tank sweep and basically they sweep the property to determine if there's an oil tank.
They have to go into the basement as well.
Check to find if there's any oil lines that was old there. So they sweep the whole property. So that's the due diligence that we do. And then, a lot of properties in North Jersey, they have oil tanks. So if you get lucky that it might have been removed in the past, then that's a home run. So we check that. If in regards to the property, we assume most of our projects are full guts. Right. So, we really don't, we go and identify, checking the foundation and making sure that there's no crazy leakage. Because if it is, then we know we have to probably potentially waterproof the foundation. Correct. That's an added cost, right? So we do look at the foundation. The roof, we look at it. Hopefully, again, we assume a new roof because we're doing a full rehab, but we'll identify if we have to, because then we just save money, right? Yeah.
And there's been times, and this is I'm gonna hit you guys with a real house fact. So there's times where you're buying a short sale, you're buying a bank-owned property, and remember, the banks have to preserve these properties. There's sometimes where the banks actually have to put on a new roof, because the roof is coming in. Yeah. So you could luck up, and your roof may only be couple years old. Yep. And you're like, oh, you know what? Don't have to replace that.
You just save, potentially 15, 20,000.
Easy.
Depending on the size of the roof. So we do identify the condition of the roof. We always go into assuming we got to do a new roof because it's a rehab. Right. But if we get lucky, well, guess what? That's just a cost that we saved on that. Foundation for sure is important, because if you got water coming in, you got to make sure that you potentially got to waterproof the foundation. That's going to be an added cost that you might not have into your budget. So we look at that. If it's water coming in from the ground, that means you got groundwater. water. So we potentially have to do a French drain. And typically, we add a French drain in all our rehabs anyway.
Right.
That's just a normal process.
Right.
So we do identify that. Again, if it's a gut rehab, we already know we're doing the plumbing, electric, HVAC, all that over. So that's already added into our course. But the due diligence, strictly to talk about that, foundation, is the foundation solid? Is there an oil tank? And then again, the roof, the overall aspect of what the construction is going to cost. So we're going with our contractor, right? Being doing this for years now, I can go into a property and kind of understand what it's going to be. But I bring the contractor in, say, okay, this is what we're doing. We're doing a full gut rehab, and I get their quote, right? I use one main contractor at this point. I did have a few, but I have one main that I use. We worked together for years. We work well together. Okay, this was going to cost. I got that number. Now, once I got that number, that's the due diligence. And say, okay, homeowner, bank, realtor, whoever, this is what we're willing to buy this property for. And sometimes you might lose the deal because your number is actually lower than somebody else,
right? Because
you knew how to properly price it, right? And everyone don't.
That leads me to my next question. What makes you say no to a deal? When have you said no to a deal?
Simple. Cost too much.
Cost too much.
That's it.
Really the only thing.
That or some major foundation issue.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, I'm not tearing it down and doing a new construction like how you would be.
Right.
And it's like, we're not doing that. But other than that, it's just a numbers game, right?
Right.
And if it costs too much, it's like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Right. So you've never walked away from something because it was too much work?
No, I just walked away from something when somebody was an asshole.
Yeah.
That'll make me say, you know what? Good luck. Find somebody else. Not in today's market, they can find anybody. Right. But before, when it wasn't as, you didn't have so many people that can just close, but strictly on the business, no, not because of the work. Like
right.
I've done full out fire rehab, which are the hardest.
Right.
Which actually we're gonna go check into one, that we're working on now as well, one of our projects. And if you see, where it was prior, it's ridiculous. It's just in the framing stage now, but just the gutting of it was unbelievable. And people run for that. So no, I don't run from anything.
Okay. So that's good. So the only way you're gonna turn down a deal is if the price is not where you need it to be.
The numbers
or the relationship or whoever you're doing the negotiating with.
Yeah, if like I try to be do good business and deal be right by people. And now real estate is not a business to be emotional in because there's people that try to curse you out one minute, next minute they want to take you for drinks. We in that type of business, right? So I don't really take things too personal, but it all depends on the way you trying to conduct the business. If you're trying to be shady and do things behind and then you find out, unless it's a home run deal, I'll be like, okay. You
just bend a little bit.
I'll bend a little bit.
You can take an FU or two.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. You know what? It's fine. But mostly it's just the numbers.
Right.
Outside of that, then
and I agree. I think when it comes down to it, once you're seasoned, if the number makes sense, there's no other reason to really turn away.
And you got to look at your risk, tolerance, right?
Right.
Some people, we were just talking about this earlier. Some people just want to get layups, right? Or just want to hit a base hit and get on base. Other people, want to hit home runs,
right?
Or hit deep threes.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to hit a home run every time, then your numbers are going to be different from somebody that just want to hit a base hit or just a layup, right? So I'm not at the layup stage right now that I'm looking for all layups, but mid-range jumpers, I'm okay with, right? And obviously, if you get a layup, that's great. I'm not looking for home runs no more, right? They come, right?
Yeah,
they come, but not like, oh, this numbers is not a home run. I don't want to take it,
right? Yeah, I think. Well, first off, the home runs are the unicorns, right? And they don't come every day. But what I can say, if you're in the game and you're active and consistent, you will get a home run at some point or another.
And speaking of home runs, we have some Ciroc summer watermelon.
What does this have to do with a home run?
It's gonna be a home run after we take our
first sip.
Our sip of it. So, every episode we have something, and it's summertime right now. So the summer watermelon is definitely, and big shout out to Diddy and them doing their thing with the Ciroc. So
yes.
we try to show love.
Shout out to Ciroc.
So we're gonna actually, get a little taste of this for the episode. I'm gonna open this up.
Right. So while you're doing that, I want to shift gears a little bit. And I think we dug into to actually evaluating the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got it. You want it. How does Chris go about financing his transactions, right? I know, obviously
all cash, homie.
I was gonna say I wasn't gonna tell him about all the cash you stashed in the mattress. I was gonna keep that between you and me, but
all cash, like Randy Moss said, all cash, homie.
so
nah, it's not.
Chris is all cash.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke. It's not all cash by any means. But as far as, you want a little ice with this?
Yeah, I'll take a cube or two.
A cube or two. Get a little ice in it. No, so as far as for me, it's various different ways that I go about financing deals, right? So some deals, depending on the timing and everything, can be done with all cash, right? And usually those deals are partner deals, working with different partners and doing the deal. But other deals are done through hard money lending, right? And to explain hard money lending to the ones that don't know, there are lenders out there that strictly lend on rehab properties, right? So we have a relationship with those lenders, and when we identify a property, typically they want you. So with a hard money lender, they typically require you to put 10 to 20% down of the purchase price, right? And they will fund 100% of the rehab, right? So you only have to put, again, 10 to 20% down of the actual purchase price, and then they'll fund 100% of the rehab. And then you got to pay your points, and you paying on the payment monthly, and then you get the rehabs and draws, right. So we typically have those type of deals where we go to our lenders and they finance it, and then we go with the process. So it's between financing it, partner with other investors and buying it cash, or having some cash heavy let's say associates that want to make a return on their money.
Right. So you're talking about private money.
Exactly.
Right.
Private money. So those are the ways that, on our end that we finance our deals. It's either one, hard money lenders and the relationships we had. Two, all cash, homie. And three, still all cash, but not the same process with the hard money lender because they're a private lender. Right. So it's a little different process. Right. And they fund the whole deal. So, those are the ways that we look at it. As we take this toast to this episode, of us continue to do this Rehab Nation and giving you guys some great content, we're going to salute to that and find out how Saeed fund his deal.
Salute. Yeah. So let me start off by saying,
take a sip.
I am all cash.
See? I got it.
So come to me.
Yeah. Cash money.
So, like Chris, I mean, we fund our deals very similar. I mean, we started out working together, so we kind of learned through the ropes of financing. So one, I definitely have bought properties all cash, and at certain points, depending on where I was at, if I was cash heavy at the time, I have used hard money on a number of deals, including my new construction deals. So with new construction, it's a little different with hard money. They would you have to have the plans. They will appraise and give you your loan amount based off of what you are going to build. So you have to have the plans. They will send they will have an appraiser still doing appraisal, still got to pay that appraisal fee, even though they're not appraising.
There's nothing there. It's just land,
right.
People.
You still do have to pay the fee because they still have to research. But they will loan based off of what you're building
Okay.
and what the comps are for that. So I've been able to get deals done, a lot of deals done through hard money. I've also had the privilege of also having some associates that are cash heavy, and have financed a good amount of my transactions where it's a win-win situation where the interest has been a little higher on those, but the advantage to that is I don't have monthly payments, and now they are, they're invested in a deal, right? So they want to see you win. And then now they're going out and raising, finding money for you because they know that you're proven, and they're bringing money to you. So I've also done deals that way where I've, where a lot of investors talk about, 100% financing. Yeah, like I've actually had deals where I've actually made money at closing. Yeah. When I purchased the property, I've also gotten a check to start the work. Yep. Which is a beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
Obviously, I've had to work, towards that my whole career, and happy that I have that as an option. So those are the main ways. Some people do crowdfund. That's not anything that I've ventured into, so I couldn't speak on that. But what I can say is, if you have a good deal, and I always tell people this, the power is always in the deal.
100%.
If you have a great deal, the money will come. Believe it.
And that is a real house fact. Listen, what Saeed said is on the money. If you have a great deal, trust and believe the money will come. Because, there's some money cash heavy people that just kind of chill and wait for the good deals to come. So you bring a good deal, they're like, oh, what? And it's a layup?
Right. And a lot of times these guys may have a 9-to-5. They may not have a 9-to-5. They may own a business. Yeah. But they don't have the time to do the legwork to go find these deals.
They don't. That's why people bring it to them, because they know they have the cash.
Exactly.
So, if you have a good deal, and Saeed's 100% right about that, the absolute money will find you.
So, focus on the deal. A lot of times people want to they focus on not having the money and the lack of. And, you're never really going to get anything done that way, because you're always going to be focused on, oh, well, I can't do it until I have this. You focus on finding that gem and putting your resources into either getting a deal under contract or, putting together a deal that, people didn't see, or tracking down an owner that nobody else could find.
You become an asset.
100%.
And listen, at the end of the day, if you new and trying to get into this game and you're not cash heavy, start with being a wholesaler, right? Because again, it still come back to the same concept. If you got a good deal, the money will come. So if you get into the game and you're a wholesaler and you be known for becoming the guy or the girl that gets these great deals, now us investors gonna be calling you.
Right.
Hey, Saeed, Chris, John, David, whoever.
And I still get those phone calls.
Yeah, what you got for me?
Right.
What you got for me? Because people want to get good deals. Everybody want the good deal.
Right.
So if you the guy or girl with the good deal, trust me, the money gonna be chasing you.
Yeah, and I would say, at least I can speak for both of us. There's plenty of deals that we haven't kept. Yeah. That we wholesale.
Absolutely.
Because it just made sense.
It made sense. At the time, you made like too many projects, so it's like, oh, this deal came in, you know what, I'm going to wholesale it. I'm going to wholesale it out. And the person that brought it to me made money, I made money, and the person that got the deal was happy, right? So at the end of the day, the power is in the deal. 100%. Yeah. Don't ever forget that. The power is in the deal. And if you're just trying to get into this game, focus on getting the deal, and everything else will follow. The people will follow, the money will follow, the success will follow.
That's it.
So speaking on, the following that, once you actually, got the deal, you got the finances and everything lined up, what is your process on your permits?
So there's a few. Most of the time I have waited until I close to submit the permits. So there have been a few times where I really wanted to get a head start on my permits, and I was able to talk to the owner, because you can only submit a permit if you're, if you own the property. You can't submit a permit if you or you're the contractor, right, working on behalf of the current owner.
Yeah.
So there's been times where I was able to talk to the homeowner and say, listen, we were under contract, but it may have been a short sale and it was going to take, another month before we got to the closing table, a month and a half. I said, I go to them, say, can I submit these permits? My contractor is going to handle it. Don't worry about it. You're not going to be liable. It's going to get switched over after I close. And they've been okay with that. So, most of the time.
But the key is, like you said, you can't just do that. You have to have the homeowner being willing to basically submit the permit with your contractor,
right?
And which is fine, and then they'll just be transferred over.
And most of the time, they don't care because permits stay with the property. It's not anything that
stay with them,
so they don't have to worry about it after they sell it. It's more liability really on you because now you have these open permits that have to be closed out.
So when you're in the process, let's say you wait till you close, right, and you're submitting a permit. How are you submitting your permits? And we kind of touched on this on a previous episode. We pretty much touched on this with everybody. What is your process? Are you submitting your permits again, full jacket as we call it here, and explaining what that is, or are you submitting it one by one? What's your process?
Yeah, most of the time because we're doing full guts, we submit a full jacket, everything up front.
And that is what? What's a full jacket?
So that's building, fire, plumbing, and electrical. Okay, and then
HVAC if you.
And then HVAC, right? And then HVAC. Some depending on the municipality, they make you do two. It varies.
It does.
But most of the time, that's the full jacket. We put it together. We have to, the electrician and the plumber have to stamp the permit. It has to have their stamp on it. Otherwise, they won't take it. For building and fire. Realistically, a homeowner could submit their own permit, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a contractor, but for the electrical and the plumbing, it has to be someone licensed and it has to be stamped. Now, most of the time, you are going to have a contractor,
a GC
that's on it, and they're going to need all their license information and their EIN number and those things. So we put it together, submit it, go through, make sure everything.
Now, are you submitting it yourself? Or your contractor submitting it?
Oh my God,
you using an expediter?
That is a great question. So I have used the expediter on a few occasions.
And what is an expediter?
So an expediter is someone that pretty much is at the building department all the time, has relationships there, and you give them your information, your permits, and you say, listen, you take this, you submit it.
They handle all the paperwork.
Right. Don't come back to me until you got the permit.
Yeah.
And obviously that's for a fee, additional fee. But I have used that. I've gotten to a point now where I'm more comfortable submitting it and being hands-on, and I think that's something I may have to get away from.
Yeah.
But right now, most of the time, I'm submitting it myself. Now I meet with my contractors and my electricians and plumbers. We're filling out all the paperwork together, and then I'm actually the one to physically go submit it. I get the calls because one, I like to especially with different municipalities and how long it takes. Jersey City, it could take 30 days, right? That's not uncommon.
Yep.
So
say that again. So in our Jersey City, Hudson County. But Jersey City in particular, you're saying how long does it take to receive a permit?
It could take 30 days.
30 days, right?
Yeah,
now,
if not longer. But part of that now, so everything now, they have a portal. Thank God they have a portal, because before the portal, it was just constantly just running back and forth down to the building department. But now, since they have a portal, you can get the updates on the portal, right? So you have to submit it. You get a control number. After you get that control number, now you can go look that property up and see where it's at, who passed it and who failed it, and what they failed it for.
Yep.
Which helps. Oh my God, helps significantly. So I handle that, and I like to handle that. One, because I like to be, if there's a phone call coming in, even if I know if they're calling about the electric and they're talking about the voltage and it should be changed. I know I may not have that answer, and I probably don't, but I know
what they requested.
What they requested, and I know when they requested it. So that's important. So now I can start hawking the electrician to, we need to update this ASAP to get this done.
And that's key. Like for us, it's similar, when we doing our rehabs, only difference between what you mentioned on you guys' process and our process is like we do the full jacket, which you already explained what that is. So we submit everything: plumbing, fire, electric, building. Obviously, building with the demo. And know that getting into that demo is very important, right? And getting that building permit for the demo, because you can have the demo permit approved pretty quickly,
right?
With everything else still going through the process, right? So you want to make sure that you submit the full jacket, but you better be on top of that demo, because that you need to get in there.
And what I can say about Jersey City that they recently shifted to, this is just something for anybody that's attempting to do new construction in the city. They will not let you submit your plans to get approved until your demolition permit, if you're knocking a house down, until that is open and closed out.
Yeah, and that's with doing new construction. So doing a rehab, you do have to submit plans in the city of Jersey City. Most cities that I work in. So along with everything else in regards to the building, the fire, the HVAC, the electrical, we do have to also submit plans.
Right.
So that's also a part of submitting the permit process, right? Because with us, the reason why we submit the plans, because zoning, it has to go through zoning, and a lot of times, building or fire, none of them, although they're ready to approve it, they're not going to approve it till you get it back from zoning. Right. So you do have to submit plans.
Oh yeah, everything has to go through zoning.
Yeah. Got to go through zoning. Yeah. So that's key. So we have to have plans ready that we submit to zoning. So you want to have all these things already prepared. So when you under contract, you can already have your architect go in there, do the plans, everything. So once it's ready to close, you have everything. You have your building permit, your electrical permit, your HVAC permit, everything for fire. You have all those things. You have your plans ready. So then now we like using expediters, right? Before it was either the contractor would do it or I would do it. But then we got away from that because time is money, man. And sitting in that building department, you can be there all day. And quite honestly, at this point, I use an expediter and not my contractor, because guess what? Your contractor, if he's there all day, what is he not doing?
Yeah, he's not at your project.
He's not at your project, and he's not working. So I don't want my contractor sitting there all day worrying about paperwork. I want him to be on the job working, right? So now, current day 2021, we use an expediter. $500 we pay for it. Sometimes you get one that you want to charge you $1,000. You can negotiate, but on average, $500. And that fee for me at this point is worth it, right? To pay that expediter to be there to handle that paperwork, right? Because again, time is money, and I don't want my contractor sitting there all day. Now, to your point in regards to why you're hands-on and you want to get that call on something small, if it's a voltage thing or something got to be changed on a plumbing permit that you want to know. What I do is, although I get the permit filled out by my contractors and my subs, and I give it to the expediter, I make sure on all the permits my number is there.
Right.
So even though I'm not the one hands-on dealing with the permits no more, if a call come in, I do get the call. Right. Or if you have an assistant, somebody working with you, and it can go directly, whoever number it goes to, and like for me, it goes to my number. It's like, oh, okay, so now I can have that conversation with my electrician or my plumber, or and knowing what's going on. Because listen, I'm gonna be very honest. If you don't do that, your plumber, your electrician, whoever, they might have been getting calls for weeks on something that needed an answer, and they never got back.
And they just didn't respond. They just dropped the ball.
And you like, what's going on with the permit? And they like, oh, we still waiting. And then when again, this is from experience, right? Because early on, I didn't do it this way.
Right.
And I had to learn, like, hold up. They was waiting for this answer for 2 weeks.
Right.
And he bullshitted for 2 weeks and saying they didn't call. And they like, no, we called this number.
So to the contractor's credit or their defense, right? They don't do paperwork. Most of these guys don't do paperwork.
Yeah, that's not their expertise.
They just have to do it because
they need a contract. Right. They need to get the work.
So we have to understand that,
Yeah.
and not hold them to regard of like, you know, just blaming, right? Like, you know, once you're in this business for a long time, you realize that you can't put the blame on people. You just end up just taking responsibility for it and figuring out how to get it done.
Yep.
So that's 100%. So, and that's key. I think, you know, I may have to reach out to your expediter. You might have to pass that info on. You know,
no, that's something that is important because listen, time is money. You there all day, and you get an expediter. They got, like you said, they got the relationships. They know the people. They deal with everything, and it gets done.
Right.
So that's what I have graduated to now. In regards to
and
that,
there are some expediters that just like you know, you submit it and there's not a lot of work. Like I'm not with throwing money away just to throw it away, and I think that's probably part of the reason why I have veered away from that, because sometimes it is the simple stuff, right? Like, you know, when I start thinking about now in the big scheme of things, yeah, you're talking about $500 or $1,000. It's like, yeah, just I don't want the headache.
I'm throwing the money away
Right.
if that's the way it's looked at, right? Because I'm at this point in my life and my career, man, and the time is the most valuable asset that I have.
That's a fact.
And that's how I look at it. So I know from our experience, you could be in that building department all day. And also, people, take this into consideration. They aren't the most kindest individuals you're going to deal with.
No, you don't say.
Oh my God.
You don't say.
Now, if you
first off,
listen, if
hold
you
on. I've gotten I agree, but I also have some good people.
No.
That you end up running into there.
I have a few people within certain building departments that are great people that I develop a relationship with, and they treat me well. But
yeah, the majority, right?
They're not shooting 80% from the field as a whole. No. You know, you get your 20,
more like 30.
Yeah, 20-30% of good people. And the good people in the building department, big shout out to you guys that, you know, have patience and work with the investors. The ones that want to be assholes for no reason at all. I don't understand that.
Just upset about life.
Yeah. So I don't want to deal with that, right? So therefore, even my expediter that deals with it and know these people, and like, I don't understand why this person is this way. And I didn't do nothing to them. So I just rather not deal with that and have the time, right? So that's just my process. And, you know, if you're able to pay for it, I will highly recommend pay for it, and you can focus on more things on bringing in revenue. For the business. That's a fact. And that's, you know, one of the things for sure. So, you know, we got into this. Now, this part we about to get into, people, is to me personally, it's the most important part, the most important part of being an investor in rehabbing properties or building new construction. Mr. Hammond, how do you manage your projects?
Oh, man.
How do you manage your projects?
I would tell you that I would write a bestseller, but it probably wouldn't be a bestseller.
So there's work to be done.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. But what I can say from my experience, there's a lot of things that I learned. So first and foremost, I've gotten through so many different projects, so many different types, so many different contractors who work in different ways. My main thing is, number one, not giving money up front. I had to learn that the hard way. We had to learn that the hard way early on in our career.
When you say not giving money up front, meaning?
So, number one, I set the expectation right from the beginning.
You're talking about money up front to your contract?
Yes.
Okay. That
I'm paying you as the job continues, okay? You are not getting any 50% deposits. No.
We say what? If a contractor asks for 50%, run. That's our thing.
That's obviously we know that. They don't know that, but yeah. So no 50%, no 25%. Let's start, right? The good contractors that I've dealt with, they don't even ask for $1. They just start the work, right? But they know, they do that because they know me. They know my track record. They know
you're gonna pay.
I'm gonna pay them. But most of the time,
don't get guilt into the reason why I need this deposit because I got burnt before and I just got to secure it. That's what you will hear sometimes, right? And granted, it might be true, but,
All right, because you're usually starting out with demo, right? You're not starting out doing anything except demoing either the inside. If you got to demo the property, then that's different. You are gonna have to leave a deposit. That's different.
Yeah, but that's like in regards to just remember the demo is still strictly just labor, right? So some of these contractors, they get people that day laborers or they are on a team and they pay them at the end of the week.
Right.
So it all depends. So you just got to make sure you're really clear on, because it's different if you're doing labor and material, right? Because then it's like, okay, well, I have to buy material.
Right.
So you have to get a percentage rather than just labor. So, those things come into play, but
Right.
continue.
So outside of that, so I already let it be known you're gonna get paid as you go, right? As we see progress. One of the things that's very important that I'm realizing even present day is to be present at the property or have someone present at the property just to.
How often, if they're working 6 days a week, how often are you there?
Oh man, at least 3 or 4.
And do you think 3 or 4 is sufficient, or do you feel like you need more?
To me, if it wasn't for the fact that I have to be consistent with other parts of my business, I would be there every day.
So you do suggest someone.
I suggest that if you can be there every day, be there every day.
It ain't got to be long. Just pop up.
Just be there. Just be there to talk. Oh, what's this? What's that? Because what happens, these guys start making decisions on their own. That's the biggest thing, where you're not there and now decisions get made.
Yeah.
Now, it could be little decisions, right?
But it also can be big.
But it could be big. No, it's little to them, but it's big to us. It could be, why'd you put this light here?
Or why you put the toilet here? You got to move.
You got to move this.
And you went through that on one project, and you're like, why is the toilet?
I went through that on a few few different projects. My thing is, one, you want to give as much direction as possible. So, the clearer you can be, because remember, contractors are not interior designers. Mm-hmm. They are not architects. They only know how to build stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're good at that, right? I can't do that, and I'm not I'm never gonna, we
joke
about contractors sucking, right?
Yeah.
We do, but at the end of the day, we can't get through our business without them, right?
They are vital to your success.
But there are certain things that they don't possess, right? Certain skill sets that they don't possess. So you have to be there to guide them to make sure that the job is going to your expectations. So that's number one. So you make sure you outline exactly where everything needs to be.
Yep.
Right? What, in terms of your timeline, when are you looking to get it done? Right? You even know, we know it always goes over the timeline.
Yeah, some extra time on it.
Right? You could definitely add some extra time on it, and you can add some extra money on the budget.
Yep.
Right? Let's just throw that out there.
10% more.
Even give or take. give or take.
10, 20. Who's counting?
But at the end of the day, you let them know these are the expectations, right? So now at least you have a threshold to put pressure on them when you need to. Mm-hmm. We said this, you said this was going to be done in 3 months, 4 months, whatever that is. So, you want to now stick to that. So now when things if things are in your control, there's sometimes where things are in the investor's control or the contractor's control, right? When you're ordering the windows. Now, the other thing that I do that I don't know if you do as well, I do all of my agreements just labor only. So I cover all material.
So I did it both ways, right? So I have done it where it was labor and material, and early on, and a lot had to do with my experience. Probably I got burnt with labor and material because I never paid 50%, but you give a percentage because you say logically, okay, well, they got to pay the material,
right?
But you still give too much, right? So what I shifted to is just labor, but it is more convenient to do labor and material but you just gotta have the knowledge on how to break down what are you giving, right? In that regards, because what I can say is this, because what I shifted to was just labor. When you do just labor, right? When you do just labor, be real conscious of the material that's being purchased, right? Because most of the time the guys going to Home Depot, right? And you getting a phone sale, or they going to another third-party venue, and you getting a phone sale, right? And you paying for what? Hey, I gotta get new sound, I got 2x4s, I got whatever the material may be, and they're not conscious of how much they're buying when it's just labor and you're paying for the material.
Right.
When it's labor and material, they don't overbuy because they are responsible for the material.
Right.
So that is something to take.
But they don't overbuy, but they over budget.
Well,
and then
they can
they can they end up adding on.
And that's when your knowledge coming to when they say, hey, it's gonna be 15,000, you're like, no, that's 12.
Right. So I would recommend, me personally, that especially for a new investor, to just do labor only, but just be conscious and aware of what's being spent. Meanwhile, when you do go to Home Depot, they can send you a copy of the
you can with Home Depot in particular, you can actually set up a Home Depot account, and which I wish all vendors did this, but Home Depot is super dope with this. When you set up your account with Home Depot, anytime a contractor go to Home Depot, it goes directly to me, and I can log on, and I call them up like, bro, you could have told me you want a Snicker. You ain't had to just add that with a bottle of water to it.
Right.
You get to see every purchase.
Right.
And, I was going to tell you, it ain't about the Snickers. It's not cost that much money. It's the principle. Because that happens, and you'll see those particular individuals. Now they're doing painting.
I mean, I probably wouldn't say nothing about a Snicker. That's just...
I'll say something. You know why? Because you let them know that you're watching.
Right.
You don't make a big deal about it.
Well, yeah, I've said something about a saw.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a whole different. I'm not providing your tools. Also, like,
I gotta pay for the tools.
Yeah, so again, with the Snicker, I say something about it. Nah, I don't care. You can have a Snicker. Listen, lunch on me, but you need to let them know that you're
Chris
aware.
don't want you to eat the Snicker. Don't eat the Snicker on his dime.
And if you are gonna eat the Snicker on my dime,
let him know. Let him know.
I mean, because listen, at the end of the day, if they buy a Snicker and a bottle of water without telling you, they will buy the saw. If they will buy the saw. Oh, if they doing painting, they buy the paintbrush and the pan. Trust me, I have seen it. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just being aware, and with Home Depot, I like them because you get to see that, right? So either way, right, you can do labor and material. If you do that, as Saeed mentioned, they may charge a little more or attempt to charge more because they trying to, give that buffer for them.
Right.
But you just got to know your numbers, right? The key is knowing your numbers. That right there in rehabbing, and that is a real house fact. The biggest thing is knowing your numbers. Because if you do not know your numbers, find a mentor that has been doing this that can help you with it. Not a contractor, because the contractor, again, not meaning he's going to fuck you over, excuse my language, but you don't know. But if you just find a mentor that's an investor that can teach you, that's important. Know your numbers.
The reality of it is, not even... They won't even, sometimes they don't even do it consciously, right? Like, let's not create the contract to be the devil. But if you don't know your numbers, then you end up like overspending crazy.
Well, and let's be honest, and like you said, this is not bashing the contractor segment, but it's contractors that I work with that were good contractors that they didn't know their numbers.
Exactly.
They didn't know their number.
Exactly.
And they underbid it on a project, right? And when you know your numbers, you're like, he can't get it done with that price. There's no way he could get it done. And he might be a good guy, but a good guy, when he got to hold the bag, might no longer be such a good guy.
I got a quick story, and we already over an hour in, but I had a contractor guy that I did tons of business with, even worked on my own personal house, right? My kids, my wife, everybody.
Yeah.
We got into a project. I paid him. Now, I overpaid him. Now, mind you, it was still labor only. I covered the material. But because there were a few things that were done wrong, and then he still had the exterior, I overpaid him. But because whenever he asked for a check, I gave it to him.
Yeah.
And we got to a point where he knew, damn, I'm going to have to come out of my own pocket to finish this. And I don't have enough to pay my guys to finish. Just walked off of the job. And now, mind you, I knew him for years. And you know who he is, but, you know, whatever. We don't need to expose him. But, like, at the end of the day, my thing is, you know, you have to protect. You always have to think about protecting yourself. Yeah. And now that was a life lesson for me. Like, don't expose yourself like that, even when you have a great relationship.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to your family or their family, unfortunately, they're gonna choose their family over yours, right?
And it's sad because, you know, we did have a great relationship, but those are the things that you go through in this business where you think that, yo, I got somebody that's solid, I can move with them. And I'm telling you, we worked on a lot of houses. You know, we worked on a lot of houses together. And
that's why, you know, knowing the numbers is important. And to be honest, one of the guys, you know, I'm not going to mention his name, but I've been working with of late. And, you know, I've been doing this for quite some time. And he was more knowledgeable with the numbers. And we done deals together. And he's like, it's not going to be that. I'm like, nah, it's going to be that. He's like, add this to it. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to add it. And then it ended up being what he said added to it. And I'm like, damn, I was off. No, I'm not off crazy, but I'm off a little bit, right? So I had to dive deeper into knowing my numbers, right? Even after doing it for so long, I had to dive deeper. Now to the point where, like, yeah, I can tell you, like, oh, they were like 120,000. I'm like, that's going to be 180 easily.
Easy.
And he was like, 180? Like, trust me. So it takes experience. And again, even me, after doing it for so long, I had to get with a guy that did it even longer, and he knew his numbers to the T, to the point where even my main contractor that, you know, is good and somewhat know his numbers was still off on certain things, right? So you have to make sure you do know your numbers, because they're not always expert in pricing, meaning contractors. Don't mean they're a bad person. They just don't know.
They just don't know.
And if they get caught in a jam, unfortunately, they're not going to – it's just what it is.
Right. And then on top of that, numbers change. Material costs change.
So prime example on that point, right? So we in 2021. We just hit, we trying to, you know, COVID was crazy, right? So for prime example, my contractor, he gave a quote on a job. And I know that material changed for lumber. The lumber prices went up triple, right? So the price that he was quoting was prior to lumber price tripling, right? I could have been like, you know what? Well, that's the number.
I'm locking you in.
I'm locking you in. But that wouldn't have been smart, because I know there's no way he could get it done.
Right.
So I was like, listen, let's go back to the table. You know, be fair. I'm going to be fair. I already signed a contract with you. But I'm going to be fair, because I want to get this job done. Your key is, do you want to get the job done, or do you want to think you got a deal?
Right.
The deal is important in regards to rehabbing, but getting the job done is way more important.
Way more important.
So we went back to the table and we renegotiated according to the actual price, because on this particular segment of the job, he was doing materials with it.
Right.
And like I said, I do mostly labor only, but because I got this relationship, I said, you know what? I'm going to do labor and material with it. And I did. And I could have just said, nope, we agreed, that's fine. But I understood that there's no way he was going to get it done.
Right.
And we renegotiated. And that's understanding the numbers and understanding what's happening in the market and knowing things change. Right. So
you're a stand-up guy for that, because a lot of people would have tried to.
Yeah, like, oh, lock them in. And I wasn't going to do that to him, because even if he would have tried to struggle and get it done, like, who am I to try to make him pay for the market that he doesn't control?
Right.
You know, you got to be an asshole to try to do that. Right. And if you out there that do that, you're an asshole. And period. You know what I mean? The market changed, the material changed, you adjust with it. Or if he walk off your job, that's your fault, right? Because you didn't adjust with the time. Fact. So that's what with the understanding the market and what's happening with material and different things of that nature, especially if it's labor and material.
Right.
If it's just right.
I'm sorry.
No,
I wanted to continue on that. So you going through it. You do all the design work yourself, right?
Oh man, me, you know, the wife help out too. She, you know, she come and tap in on the design, but yeah, she tap in.
Sounds like the wife is making the final decisions, if you ask me.
Not the final decision, not the final decision at all. But no, she, you know, she gave me. She's pretty dope with the eye. Right. But I'm real good with looking at a shithole and seeing what it can be.
Right.
So I designed the layout. She helps with the finishes.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Which is most important.
Yeah, the finish is the most important.
So, you know, you do it in house is what I was getting to. You handle it in house, which now you can outsource that. Some people need to. I think over time we've come accustomed to having that eye to see. Now, again,
you talking about outsourcing like the design,
the design and finishes.
So I want. Yeah, no, I do it in house, and just to rewind just slightly, right, on the process of the rehab, because the man is in the project, right. You said that you go to the project 3-4 days a week, right? I would recommend, because I just want to touch on my process. I wasn't at first going every day,
right?
I was on that same time schedule. Now every day, my schedule early in the morning from 9 to 11, I'm going around to projects. That's what I'm doing,
right? See, and you can do that because, again, right, we talked about early on wearing hats, right? So you got to understand your time schedule too.
Yeah.
I'm also an agent, right? Also running a team.
Yeah.
Right? I can't be everywhere
and that's true, but you have to, for me, even still running a team, right? I know that the team know that I'm, in the morning time, he's running his runs. Now, ultimately, I want to get to a point where I have a project manager.
Right.
I don't have that yet. I'm the project manager, but I'm working on partnering with some people to do that. Where now the project manager, that someone that I can trust, that understand the rehab, can go and then they just bring me that feedback and like, hey, we on track. This is good. Blah blah blah. But I go try to touch it every day, right? Because I think
which is ultimately it's important for presence, right? Which is what we said before. Like ultimately, you want presence there. Now, my contractor that I have now, I put
trust
a good amount of trust in.
But listen, the trust don't matter, right? Because the contractor that I got that I've been working with for years, I trust him. He's a good dude.
Right.
He's a good dude. Like, it's times that he did $15,000 worth of work before he even asked for the check.
Right.
That don't happen every day.
No, that doesn't happen.
He's a guy that if he needed some money, he can come to me and I give it to him.
Right.
You know, because he's that good of a dude, in that regard. So,
and you're saying you still follow up with him every day.
I still follow up because at the end of the day, he's human.
Right.
You know, he's human.
Right.
You know,
and that's the thing. I think the what you're trying to allude to is pretty much you want to be on top of the process because one, when you're dealing with a rehab, the process can take a left turn at any given day.
Yeah.
Right. Meaning there's decisions that need to be made that if you're not there, the decision is being made whether you're there or not.
Yep.
And you want to be present to have some type of say whether or not this should go where or whatever.
Because sometimes they don't know and they just make the decision and it wasn't the right decision.
Right. And sometimes it could be minor, but then sometimes it could be major.
But I had a situation where recently my main guy, he made the decision and he made the wrong decision.
Right.
And he already did it, closed up the walls, this, that, and third. And I'm like, I don't think that was the right decision. He's like, no, I think it'll be fine. Came back for inspections and he had to rerun the whole pipings and everything. And I knew that it wasn't going to work. Now, he paid for it. He was a stand-up guy, but everybody ain't. And they like make the wrong decision. They're like, oh, they got to come out of my pocket. They're not willing to do it.
Right.
So you have to be there to be able to give that guidance, right? So I think it's very important as far as the investor, be on top of your projects. Be 100%. There, right? Make sure you understand what's going on.
Be there, know what they're doing, when they're doing it.
And let's be honest. We said it's not shitting on contractor segment, but there are some, when they do know you're not, when they do know you're not there every day and they're working on more than one project, they won't show up.
Right.
So if they know you popping up every day, they're going to have somebody there.
Right.
So that's just something to be completely transparent.
So what happens, they end up taking new jobs, right? They know they have your job and they're going to get the money from your job. So and not just
because they get to learn your pattern.
Right, exactly. But not just them, but most people, they want as much income. They're trying to get as much income as possible. Yeah. So they know if they got your 100,000 already allocated for, but I could go get this other 20,000 for this kitchen or this bathroom
that they feel they could do quickly,
right?
Yeah,
and still handle this job, but even though they don't have the manpower to handle the job, so something is going to there's going to be some type of conflicts. They can't handle everything, so you will be affected by that. So it's important for you, and not necessarily saying they can't do that because nobody's trying to stop anybody from making money. But ultimately, if you have a contract with somebody and you're not supposed to get it done at a certain time, that's what the expectation is, and that's the precedent that you want to set. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Be present
every day,
as much as you can.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Managing your project, you better pop in every day. I don't care if you can't do it, have somebody else do it, but have a present there every day. That's what I would tell you to do as far as managing your project. Make sure when you're doing your budget, you understand your numbers, because just because the contractor may give you a great price, they might not understand the numbers, and they get into it and realize they're more, and they don't finish, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. Financially, they just can't do it. Know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, get somebody that can help you know your numbers. And then be very conscious, if you're doing labor only, of the material that's being purchased, because you don't want to be overpaying for material and that you're never going to use again, right? So be on top of your material cost when you're doing your projects, and make sure you just on top of your game. So that will be
that about sums it up. And just
Yeah.
a quick, Jim, for Home Depot. What's the number? If you go over if you're at the pro desk, if
like
you go over
1,500, yeah,
then you can get an additional discount.
You bring it to the bedroom.
Bring it to the bedroom.
Yeah,
always bring it to the bedroom. If you're at Home Depot.
If you're at Home Depot and you're doing a big project, always bring it to the bedroom, right? And if you're able to another gem, if you got good credit and you're able to get a credit card, Home Depot card, or any other card that's a decent amount.
Yeah, I have a Lowe's card.
Yeah,
actually,
use your credit card that may have rewards, different things of that nature for your rehab. The reason why you do that, because if you got the cash already and you just building up points, different things. So it's just,
and that could be anything from frequent fly mileage,
whatever.
To any
like we had one of our guests, Drew Bernard, that he mentioned, which we haven't done, but we thought was dope, that he uses Amex card.
Right.
And he told us with his Amex card, if a contractor ever mess up, he can always pull that back, and he do that from the beginning. Now, that's not my process. That's not Saeed's process, but we thought it was dope. So y'all, either y'all learned about that already.
Shout out to Jew for that.
Yeah, because that was super gem. But just do different things that benefit what you're already doing in your business. But that will be the process of managing project, being on top of it, being there every day, knowing your numbers. Even if the contract don't know those numbers, you're like, oh my God, he gave me a great deal. He don't know. No, make sure you be fair, because if you're not fair, the odds are it's not going to get done. So just be fair on that.
Oh, and the other thing that we really didn't discuss, and at this point we're going. I want to make sure they get value.
Yeah.
You have, when you're sourcing a contractor, you want to make sure that you go. If this is your first time dealing with them,
go check his work.
Go check their work out. Go to their project. If they should be active. If they don't have any active projects going on, that's the first red flag that they may not be the right fit.
Yeah,
you want them to be busy,
because the good contractors are always busy. Especially in a hot market.
Right.
In a hot market, if the market is cold, then that's different. You might be like, oh, it's cold, and then people just using their guys and whatever. But if it's hot, trust me, the good contractor is always busy.
Right.
So definitely go check their work out.
Go check their work out. And then, obviously character is important. I think character is important. You want to go with your gut too. Like, if they're talking too fast and they're trying to talk over you and they're trying to tell you what you need to do, like sometimes that's not the right fit.
Yeah.
You wanna find somebody that you feel comfortable with,
Yeah.
that you feel you can
Trustworthy.
communicate with,
Yep.
right? And not saying that if they're talking over you that they're not good, but maybe they may not be good for you, because the know-it-alls sometimes they try to shift
Too smart for their own good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And too smart for your own good too, because you end up getting caught in their wrath of what they thought was supposed to be done, which really wasn't the
So
right thing.
check out the projects that they done for sure.
Right.
Get a good feel. Go with the energy. Go with the vibe. And man, knock it out the park when you guys are doing your project. So we're gonna wrap up to the exit strategies, right? In regards to, there's various different exit strategies on the projects, right? So Saeed, what is your exit strategy once you complete the project?
So it all depends on what the end goal
Are you
is.
strictly flip guy?
Yeah. So I've done both. I've refinanced. So there are lenders out there that will refinance you based off of the property, and not just not your primary residence, just based off of the income of the property, you can get a refinance
Yep.
loan that will pay off your hard money, potentially cash you out if you have enough equity in the
Yeah.
deal, and now you're at a lower interest rate than what hard money would be, because hard money
And
is,
you're renting those properties.
exactly, and
Yeah.
you're renting it,
Yeah.
you're keeping it. So I've done that. Well,
What would you consider? What's your all right? So between that, like, what is your primary exit strategy?
So right now I'm selling.
Everything.
So yeah, I'm selling everything.
Yep.
I don't have a buy and hold strategy.
Yeah.
My goal is just to and I'll let you guys in on it. I'm trying to get extremely liquid and then park my money in a building.
Okay.
That
20 unit. 30,
right, 20,
yeah.
30 units.
Yeah.
So, like we discussed earlier. So
Yeah.
right now, that's what my focus is. So I'm selling my new constructions. I'm selling. There are 2 units I'm selling. So I'm putting it on the market. Right now, the new construction that you guys are going to see is pretty much like 95% done. Already on the market, already had a decent amount of showings, and I'm selling it and I'm letting it go. So my thing is, always you have to base your exit strategy on where you're at and what your goals are.
Yep.
You could refinance and keep it if that's what you're looking to do. If you're trying to get, let's say 10,000 net income coming in every month,
Yeah.
and you can add that to your portfolio.
So he makes a key point, and the point is understanding what your goal is, right? If your goal is to be a buy and hold guy, then that's the assets that you go after. If your goal is to be a buy and flip guy or girl, that's the asset. If you want to do a mixture of both, then you choose on depending on the asset you receive. So for me personally, I do both, right? Like I mentioned earlier, 1 and 2 families, we flip, right? And our extra strategy is simple: we list it
Right.
to the highest bidder.
Done deal. Yeah.
It's sold. Now the 3.
I seen a few of those on the MLS too.
A
We don't need to get into that.
a couple.
Seen a few of those on the MLS recently.
We made a couple chains, So we sell those, right? And then the 3 and 4 families, that's our strategy current day. Again, I mentioned I'm working on getting to commercial, but we fix those and hold it, right? So when we hold those, we refi it. We fix it up. We go to, there's our investor friendly banks out there that programs are for investors with rental properties.
Right.
We
So
refi
let's
it.
give them a couple. So one, Vizio.
Vizio's one.
Vizio's one.
We got Vizio's one of the main ones.
Lima one.
Vizio and Lehman one is like the main two.
Right.
And then they got others as well. You can research. But Vizio financing and Lehman one are really friendly for rental properties.
And they understand.
Yeah,
right?
they understand. The only difference between those entities and like a traditional bank, their interest rate is a little bit higher.
It is going to be higher.
Yeah, so if you're, fully bankable and you can go to a traditional, I would say smaller lender
Being
in your
bankable. Oh, man.
my God. Being bankable is very important because as an investor and, you're doing flips, this, that, and the third, you may not always be fully bankable, right? So if you're fully bankable and I would advise to go to a smaller local bank in your market that's friendly with investors, and you will get a way better interest rate than a Vizio or Lehman one.
Right.
Hands down.
That's a fact.
And if you can do that, that will be the best route if you took to buy and hold because your interest rate going to be lower, meaning your payment's going to be lower, meaning your net is going to be higher on your income.
But they are going to scrutinize probably the deal a little bit more.
They will. They're going to do more than the Lehman one and the Vizio. They're going to require more paperwork, But again, if you're fully bankable,
it doesn't matter.
Go through that process.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. So that's what we do. We refi. And, we used to early on cash out. I'm working more to not cash out. I'm working more to have that equity and to get more on the net.
You got all the cash in your mattress already.
I mean, I'm looking to try to get under my mattress, but, we're working on it. We're working. But, yeah, that's our process, man. And then, once, because, we're going to transition and wrap this up into what happens after, we refi or sell it. Do we 1031 exchange? Do we put it into another property? What is our process? For me, it's not really 1031 and exchanging it. Sometimes another deal is right there, and you can 1031 right into it, and we do that. But we usually just take into consideration, okay, because this is the business we do full time and I have employees. It's just not. So we take, okay, well, we know the tax is going to be approximately this, but we have so many other expenses. At the end of the year, certain things net out.
Yeah. So let's be honest. Most people aren't 1031 exchanging unless they have a good amount of cash already.
Most people that are 1031 exchanging the deal is people, as
Right.
Saeed mentioned, is super, super, super liquid.
Right.
And they like,
It's
okay,
super high net worth
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. They're just parking the money.
But if you're new, you're gonna be using money.
You need that money
to live.
Yeah.
And like, okay, now you're trying to get another
You
project.
need to put it back, right?
Yeah,
You
but
need
it's
to
not
roll
gonna be
it
the
over.
whole amount.
Right.
So my strategy more or less is actually, taking a portion. So for instance, if I make a profit, right? So let's just go into what's the way that the money is managed, right? So take a percentage that's going to be for taxes, right? Put that to the side. Although I have a full out business that, it's not going to be exactly that amount,
Right.
but you just have it to the side,
Right.
right? Then what percentage the taxes may be. Then I say, okay, this is my expenses for my business or whatever for the next 6 months. If it's capable in the deal,
Right.
it might only be 3. Depending on what you receive, put that to the side. And then the next is identifying hopefully another deal to put it into.
Right.
So that's how I look at the money. And then, hopefully, I can put it into another deal. And that's my process when the cash comes.
Yeah.
What about you?
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very simple. You gotta pay your taxes.
Yeah.
You
Can't get around that.
Yeah, you can't.
Uncle Sam coming.
Yeah, chalk it up. You can
Yeah.
try to do all your write-offs, and we can get into, obviously writing off is great, but if you're trying to be bankable,
Yeah.
then,
You don't want to write off.
don't wanna write off
And
everything.
we have to learn that because early on, we like, man, we writing off everything. And you could because you have real expenses. But then you're not bankable.
right,
It's like you write off all that stuff, but you can't get a pot to piss in.
Right.
You did all these deals, but
and a
you
window to throw it out of. Gotta add that in.
and a window to throw it out. So be bankable. And you learn that early on. You're thinking like write everything off. No, pay the taxes, man.
Right.
Pay the taxes.
Just pay it.
And-
It's a part of doing business.
and go from there. But yeah. So anything you got you're working on that's like outside of real estate right now?
Nah, man. I gave you guys, if you, shout out to Lifestyle International Realty. If you guys, I'm looking to grow the team out. If you guys, if anybody's looking to get their license and actually be an licensed agent, I can help you with that. Help you grow and thrive as an agent and really learn the business in and out. And yeah, if you're looking for a mortgage or you want to buy and you're looking where to go, who got the best rates, just come talk to me. That's about it. That's where I'm at.
That sounds good. And on my side, man, big shout out to the wife. She's the broker of Sky Realty International. Currently also looking for agents, right? But active agents, right? Looking for people that's hungry. So if you out there and you hungry, you could come on this side with Sky Realty International and be with a great team, or you can come on that side with Saeed and Lifestyle Realty.
Lifestyle International.
I'm sorry, Lifestyle International. Either way, that's my guy. So he's a good guy, and the wife at the brokerage, she's awesome as well. So got that going on. Also, outside of real estate, working on the New Jersey Knights Elite. It's a youth football organization. So anybody watching this that's got a kid in youth football in New Jersey, bring them down. We definitely doing good things with that. And yeah, man, focusing on right now, getting some commercial things going.
Tell them about kind of what you guys did. The brief, real quick, like the first year. Just
We talking about with the Knights?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
Talk about it.
We had about 110 kids in the COVID year that was able to get kids out and went through a whole season with no COVID cases, which was a huge success. Parents had a great time. Kids had a great time. Kids is from age last year when we did it 7 to 14. Now this year 7 to 13. The New Jersey Knights Elite, we modeled it after Rutgers. That's the school I went to. I played a little ball there.
just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So football is my passion. That's the sport that we focus on, American football.
He would leave all this alone if he could just get like a 10-day contract. Just throwing that out there.
Probably not at this point. Listen, what you say? lived my dream already, you know. So I couldn't give him a 1-day contract right now. I couldn't even give him a half an hour. I'll be done after 5 minutes for sure. But yeah, no, the New Jersey Knights is a youth organization that, you know, started with some great guys. And, you know, we're doing some great things in the community. So if you got any kid, bring them out. You can check us out at www.newjerseyknightselite.org. And yeah, we on Instagram, New Jersey Knights Elite, Facebook, New Jersey Knights Elite. So that's what I'm doing outside of real estate. Oh, and big shout out to our sponsors, ITR.
Ooh,
you know,
ITR.
You guys definitely look up our sponsor, Instant Truth Review. It is a great platform, and they're doing great things for us with the Rehab Nation Real Estate Uncover.
I mean, most importantly, they're cutting the check. So thank you.
Yeah.
ITR
cutting the check. Listen, a check needs to be cut in every aspect of it. So big shout out to ITR on that aspect of it. But yeah, man, that's what it is. And another episode, we're going to take you guys to our projects. I'm going to go to a few. Saeed's going to go to a few. And we're going to show you know, how we do it here in New Jersey.
Let's do it.
Big shout out to that. Signing off.
Oh, you want to purchase property? Let me show you properly how to turn your dreams to real life monopoly. First things first.